Welcome back to Theotokos on Friday of the first week of Advent. As we continue to look at Mary and the angel Gabriel and the Annunciation, we really see that the glory of Luke chapter 1 verse 37, when God says nothing is impossible for him, is really the lens through which we can look at all of Luke chapter 1. For nothing is impossible for God. As we look at Luke chapter 1, we see that God can silence Zechariah. He can breathe life into Elizabeth's barren infertility. God can conceive his only begotten son in the womb of a virgin. God can do anything, for nothing is impossible for God. God loves to show off. The bigger the odds, the better God gets. In the Old Testament, Sarah's old age, Moses' Red Sea, Nebuchadnezzar's fiery furnace. From Genesis chapter 18 all the way to Jeremiah 32, the Old Testament reminds us when we present God with something impossible, God begins to show his power and his glory. In fact, the limitless of God's possibility is only magnified when we admit the reality of our limitations. In other words, when we admit that we can do nothing, it almost gives God permission to show us that nothing is impossible for him. And I say this because perhaps you're in the midst of a season where you need a breakthrough or a miracle, or maybe you need God to really do something in your life. Yesterday we talked about relating to God, and when we fail to relate our desires to God, perhaps we feel let down in those moments. Or maybe you feel let down in the past as prayers weren't answered the way you expected. It's easy for us to feel distant from God and don't believe that God will either hear or answer our prayers. Sometimes we feel unworthy of God acting with that kind of power, as if God has other things that are more important. Ephesians chapter 3 verse 20 reminds us that God can do immeasurably more in our lives than we could ever ask or imagine. More than we could ever imagine. God can do more than you could ever imagine. So where do you need a miracle today? Where do you feel that, quote unquote, nothing can happen? God told Mary that nothing is impossible for him. So spend some time today with our Theotokos and ask her to show you how she believed in miracles. Ask her to help you believe in miracles. Mary would have often prayed with the book of Exodus. For your prayer today, I would invite you to go to the book of Exodus. Just slowly read Exodus 14, verses 10 to 25, especially verse 14, where God reminds us that he wants to fight for us. That's Exodus 14, 10 to 25. And then I just invite you to close your eyes, as we've been doing all week, and see if you can visualize the Annunciation. See if you can imagine Mary sitting. Just go there and talk to her about how she believed in God's power. And then pray this prayer with me. Father, I ask for the grace today to taste your power and possibility. I beg you to give me great desires so that I might reveal your glory. God bless you.